started out just by buying a house myself.
Okay.
And I started out like house hacking, which is essentially just having roommates and having them cover the mortgage. It was some buddies of mine. We graduated from the Naval Academy together. They needed a place to stay. It worked for them because the rent was cheaper, and that was like what really intrigued me into the whole real estate game. So fast forward, more people hear about what I'm doing, friends. So they're getting intrigued. So I started helping. A lot of people, do the same thing I was doing. And then one time, just having a conversation with my mom, she was like, "You should really just get your real estate license." So I was like, I never thought about it at that point, and I thought about it a little bit more and got into it. And so once I got my license, all the work that I was doing previously kind of felt like it was the same thing. So, a lot of people coming and approaching me about what I was doing. So just really started out with having a track record of helping people before.
You're listening to the Real Estate Proverbs Podcast with host Kevin Jefferson. This is the #1 podcast for African American real estate professionals who are doing extraordinary things. It's time to tune in. And now, your host, the People's Lender, Kevin Jefferson.
Welcome to the Real Estate Proverbs Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Jefferson, and today our guest is Mr. Elijah Merchant. It's a good day, brother.
Hey, how you doing?
We're doing well. So Elijah, for those who don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. My name's Elijah, like you said. I'm a real estate agent out in the Hampton Roads area, which is Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Virginia. I've been an agent for coming up on 2 years now. So I currently in the military as well, so active duty. That's me.
That's you, huh? Well, first of all, thank you for your service, man. We definitely appreciate that. So how we got here was I put a post in a group and someone responded. Actually, your mother responded with your name.
Right.
So I was very intrigued on how you were able to make 6 figures in your first 4-year real estate. So let's jump into that, man, because that is the buzzword, like 6 figures.
Right.
Like 6 figures is where people aspire to be. So let's definitely, I'm gonna ask you some questions and see how we can get in there. Maybe someone can use what they hear and help grow their business as well.
Yeah, of course. Gotcha. I actually started out just by buying a house myself.
Okay.
And I started out like house hacking, which is essentially just having roommates and having them cover the mortgage. It was some buddies of mine. We graduated from the Naval Academy together. They needed a place to stay. It worked for them because the rent was cheaper. And that was like what really intrigued me into the whole real estate game. So fast forward, more people hear about what I'm doing, friends. So they're getting intrigued. So I started helping. A lot of people, do the same thing I was doing. And then one time, just having a conversation with my mom, she was like, "You should really just get your real estate license." So I was like, I never thought about it at that point, and I thought about it a little bit more and got into it. And so once I got my license, all the work that I was doing previously kind of felt like it was the same thing. So, a lot of people coming and approaching me about what I was doing. So just really started out with having a track record of helping people before.
Got you. So are you still active in the military?
Yes, currently.
Okay, currently. And full-time agent?
Yes. Yeah. I don't think there's a thing as a part-time agent. Like anybody that's in the business knows it is a 24/7 job. You don't really, even if you have another obligation, you still have this obligation is just as big. It's constantly going.
Got you. So you get your license, and how long between the time that you were actually licensed and picked a brokerage was it when you closed on your first deal?
It happened pretty fast, actually. So it was, I got the client within the first couple of days of actually having my license. So it was a friend of mine that was coming down to the area. He was currently in Rhode Island, and he knew that as military, we're moving all the time.
Right.
So he was coming down, and I was actually helping him try to find a rental. I wasn't even thinking about getting paid off of it. And then he asked me a question, and I answered it. And he was like, so it kind of intrigued him into buying. But essentially, he asked me a little bit about my property. Can't remember exactly what the question was, but basically, how much was I paying? And so when I told him that I wasn't paying anything, he's like, wait, what? So I kind of, got him into the mindset of like house hacking, that he could do it too. And he was like, it took him 2 days, but he's like, all right, let's buy a property. It's like, okay, let's do it.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So your client, he closes on it. So once you got the first deal, how long between the first and the second?
I feel like they kind of compound on each other. Like it's like the momentum, right?
Okay.
Once you get it, you could post it on social media. You could talk about it amongst friends. Your brokers can promote it, and that kind of leads into the next deal. So it was very shortly after, kind of the same thing. I think what helped me that next time, because while I was working with him, I was trying to figure out what can I do to attract more clients. So I held a seminar, VA loan seminar, which is big in my area, the VA loan. So I just promoted it on social media. Like, I'm having this thing. I got with a lender, and I got with a credit repair guy, and I was like, I'm hosting this event. I try to push it out to as many people as possible. And that's kind of how I got my next client. He showed up. Only 4 people showed up. I thought it was unsuccessful at the time, just because of 4 people, but it turned out that it was even better because it was a more intimate situation where people could ask those questions and could interact. And the lender killed it. She knew her stuff, which helped me just starting out. There was a lot of things that I didn't necessarily know. So teaming up with vendors like that also helps as well.
Gotcha. Did you close any clients that had anybody who came to the home buying seminar?
Yes. So the next one came to that VA loan seminar, and then I got 2 clients out of it. So 2 out of the 4.
Yeah, that's a good percentage. 50% all day, man. 50%
right.
all day. So you've got your momentum. How did you what were you doing to maintain that momentum? Because when you start to see big checks, you could potentially stop because you get complacent. So how'd you continue to go?
Honestly, I'm very passionate about real estate. So I talk about it with everybody I know. So, I mean, it's a big part of, I enjoy it. So once I started, house hacking, I was like, oh, I'm all in. So I'm constantly talking about it with people I don't know, people I do know. So that's what really keeps the momentum going, and just trying to figure out more ways to reach more people to educate them on what's possible to them.
Got you. So since you're in the Navy and you're in a military area, military base, is your focus VA loans or veterans, or is that your niche?
It is my niche, just because I can relate to military members. I'm with them on the ships. I'm with them. The schedule is kind of the same. It kind of aligns, so it does help a little bit with managing both. So I will say that is my niche, mainly because out here in Norfolk, it's a huge VA area.
Gotcha. And with the fact that you're still actively in the military, what system do you have in place to continue to do both jobs? Well, do the real estate business, and you do serve as a Navyman?
Right. So initially that was my weakest point in being a real estate agent. My first year, I didn't have a system. I didn't have anything. I was just kind of just doing it and felt like disorganized. So coming into last year, 2021, that was a change that I wanted. I wanted to be more intentional. So I didn't have a CRM, I didn't have a database, I didn't have anything. So that was my starting point. Getting a database. I have Boomtown right now, so I made sure to like watch videos on how to build a database and uploaded that into Boomtown so I could be more systematic. And in Boomtown, you can create individual drip campaigns for people or groups or whatever. So I really follow that, to be honest. I still a lot of stuff that I see on YouTube videos or mentors or anybody I hear going on and try to spin it my way, like make it more me so it's genuine. But that's pretty much my system now that I use to keep me in check as far as like what I should be doing every day.
Got you. You think that structure came from being in the military?
Definitely. That's why I felt like my very first year, I did well, but I didn't feel like I was doing well, mainly because of how disorganized I was, and it was just coming. I couldn't predict my business at all, and I would hear other real estate agents saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this number," and they knew their numbers. So I knew that was something that I needed. So I come from structure, so it was kind of easier for me to, once I focused in on it and really realized what it takes to be a real estate agent. I think being in the military, a military background did help.
Got you. So in your first full year, you know how many transactions you closed?
Yes, I did 23 transactions.
23 transactions. And what was the sales volume?
I was right at like 5 million, a little over.
Okay. Wow. That's good, man. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So 23 transactions, 5 million, a little over 5 million. No system, just hustling and grinding. Can you figure out like what you did that year to keep, like, I know I'm asking the same question, but it's got to be something you did to like keep, like, were you consistently marketing to those people? Were you using social media? Like, tell us how you were able to keep getting clients aside from, just talking up real estate.
Right. So I do use social media. I use Instagram. I don't use it like I should because I hear of ways of people, really getting their business mainly from there. So I'm your typical agent that posts under contracts and closings, and sometimes I forget to do those things. But I will really say the secret sauce is really getting in front of people. The more people you talk to, the more people, and it's not even coming from a salesperson technique, is more so just educating. I feel like the one thing that I did very well after reviewing myself was that I was able to educate people on their possibilities and then let them make their own decisions. So you give them the information, because you'd be surprised how many people really don't know. I got a lot of questions like, and I'm dealing with younger first-time home buyers. So they're normally like, oh, I have to put 20% down. Like, that's not true, and things like that. So I really tried to figure out what were the roadblocks from stopping people to buy, and just educate them on like, no, there's this way that you can do this. Like, you can actually get in with no money down. I know that's a little bit harder if it's not the VA loan, but I'm sure that even in all over the country, there's markets of where over here we have a first-time home buyer's loan, a VHDA loan, which basically gets, if you don't have any military service, you basically could get a house with $0 down as well. there are some stipulations that come with it, but so giving those people those options, a lot of times you'll find that a lot of people do want to buy houses, even if they don't really want to invest.
Got you. So do you find that people are more receptive to hearing about home ownership? And what I mean by that is there's some conversations that people shy away from, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like everyone seems to have a story when it comes to real estate, whether it's theirs or somebody else's. So you find that's an easy conversation to have all the time.
Yeah, you will find people that don't necessarily want to talk about those things. Like finances are just taboo in general.
Right.
And I think amongst the Black community, it's very taboo. So and for the younger generation, a lot of people don't want to necessarily have those conversations all the time. But I do feel like when you come from a place of passion and a place of just being genuine about it, it is a little bit more receptive rather than like I'm trying to get something from you.
Got you. All right. So let's dig into it.
Yeah.
I'm a real estate agent. I just get my license.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the first thing you would have me to focus on looking back at your first year, aside from picking the right brokerage?
Okay. I would say make a list of all your friends. I know people probably hear this all the time. Friends, family, but it's absolutely true. You don't even have to tell them that you're a real estate agent, but whatever it is, however your story unfolds on why you're a real estate agent, I would start having those conversations and start having the conversations about their options. Whether they own a home or rent a home, I would just start there and talk to them about all the things that they possibly can do.
Okay. So once they've done that, because that's the key, man, like sphere of influence.
Yes.
Like if you hear about it, I've done 50 interviews and probably 40 realtors, and they've all said sphere of influence.
Yeah.
What do we do to talk? What conversations are we having with our sphere?
Yeah. So each person is going to be unique, right? Like how you approach them will be unique. But I would definitely say start out looking at their situation and see where you can help them at. And some people you can't help, right? Like some people aren't in a position to buy, and you shouldn't pressure them into buying or anything like that. But if their goal is to buy at some point, help them along the way. Like I think a lot of times people get into like, I need a closing now. And I think the true key to it is helping everybody along the way, wherever they're at, even if they're not going to buy a property from 5 years from now. Well, 5 years from now, that could be your transaction.
True. So once we've established our sphere of influence, what tools would I need as a new agent to get me started?
Tools, as in, can you elaborate on that? Like,
do I need a mentor? Do I need a coach? Do I need a CRM service? Do I need a specific type of computer? Like what things can help me build my foundation?
Right. Yeah. So that's where my downfall was at. I'm sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. That's where I started at, where my downfall was at. I do think that, yes, every agent needs a mentor. If you look at like your most successful agents, they're probably going to tell you that they have a mentor or a coach. I don't think that there's any level of success where you don't need those things. And I think, you need an accountability partner as well, somebody that's a peer of yours that's going through the struggle as well, starting out, that could hold you accountable and that you could bounce ideas off of. I think that's really important. I do think you need a CRM. Now that I'm operating off of a CRM, I do realize, yes, you 100% need a CRM, because how else are you structuring your day? My CRM tells me exactly what I need to do and who I need to contact. Beyond that, before, I was just kind of winging it, and I don't think that's a very good thing to do. There's other things that you can do as well. I think another big tool is your vendors. Like, how much are you using your lenders? How much are you talking to title agents? Are you hosting events? Because they can help you do those things. And a lot of times, if you have a really good one, they can do things far better than you can, especially starting out, right? As far as the education piece, because that's where I come from. I come from just trying to educate as much as possible. So I think that's an important tool to use that's kind of underutilized, especially starting out.
Got you. So in terms of brokerage, and we don't have to say names, why did you select the company that you went with?
So I switched after my first year.
Okay.
So I did what every new agent does. I went with the first brokerage that I talked to that said, yeah, I'll take you. And of course they'll take you, right? Because you're going to make them money. And what I realized first year, that if I stayed at my brokerage, I was going to be, it was no real room to grow, because there was nobody there to, like you said, mentor me. I was kind of just out on my own. And, my mom's in the real estate. So I did have her to lean on. But beyond that, my brokerage, at coming in as a new agent, if I went into the office, I would be lucky if somebody said, hey, back to me. So I knew that was an environment that I just could not see myself growing at. So when I went to go interview other brokerages, the big thing I was looking at was the education piece, and then two, how the relationship between all of the agents were together, and if people were actually mentoring. So I had conversations with agents at those brokerages.
Got you. So first year, 5 mil, 23 transactions. How is your second year going? Or how did your second year go?
Yeah, my second year went better than before. It wasn't as much growth as I wanted it to be. So I ended out at 32 transactions and a little under 8 million.
Okay. That's commendable, man. That's commendable. So do you view real estate as because you already have a full-time position, do you view it as like a side hustle, a business? What's your take on it?
I view it as a true business, because that is what it is. Like I said, I don't think there's a such thing as a part-time agent. I've had conversations with plenty of people that see, friends and family that see what I'm doing, and they're like, oh yeah, I think I'm gonna get my license and I'll just sell here and there. And that's not how it works. Anybody in the industry would tell you that's not how it works. You got to pound the pavement every day for you to produce. So it's definitely something that, is a true business, and you should operate it as such.
Got you. Are you still doing home buying workshops?
Yes. So I kind of elevated a little bit. I'm not just at the VA loan seminar, because that's what I was doing purely. But now I'm trying to come up with more events. So we just hosted a how to get into investing. So far as a military member and stuff like that, I also hosted an event of how to raise your property value. So just trying to sprinkle in education in different avenues of things. And I would, for the event about raising your property value, teamed up with an appraiser, had them come out and speak for, the local area. So those are, I'm just trying to find more creative ways of getting out and widen the people that I'm trying to reach to.
Got you. In terms of your social media marketing, what platform were you using primarily?
Instagram. I hear good things about Facebook. I don't really use it much, so I have not used it. I have a business page. It's linked to my Instagram, but Instagram is the platform that I choose to use.
So on Instagram, were you posting, like making posts, or were you doing videos or lives? What type of marketing were you doing there?
Right. I haven't had any videos or anything like that. I mainly post under contracts and closings. And that's kind of, I'm not very creative, and I'm not like a social media guy. So that I do get business from social media, just from producing. So I can't sit up here and say like, oh, you should do these creative things to get in front of people. I'm not that guy. But I do try to use it as a tool. I find it, I do interact a lot, right? So if I see somebody's story, or I try to follow other local investors, and ask them questions, and comment like on people's stuff. But beyond that, that's all I'm really doing.
Gotcha. So what would you attest the growth of your first year into your second year, like the additional 8 transactions? What do you think helped?
Really, you probably heard this before, but like really going at my sphere. One thing that I started to do this past year that I didn't do the year before was I would ask my clients, hey, if you know of anybody that's trying to buy or sell, like, please send them my name or send me their information. I'll take good care of them. So that was one avenue that I didn't really tread, or for closings. I never said those things in the first year, but my second year, I was very avid about trying to really build a referral business and being intentional in the things that I do and say to clients and sphere.
Got you. In terms of your seminars that you host, do you hold them on base? Are they virtual? Like, what's that look like?
Yeah. So when I first started out, they were at my brokerage, and then we got a good idea that we should move it to a place on base. But as you know, COVID happened, and COVID kind of messed up everything. So there was a time and period that we were doing them online, as far as like a Zoom call. So really, it just depends. We haven't came back into person just yet. So Zoom has been the way of getting those out as of right now.
How often do you have them?
When I first started out, I was doing them monthly. Now it's like once a quarter.
Gotcha. And what's the attendance like?
The attendance is it's up and down, so you could get anywhere to like 2 people, or I don't draw a huge crowd. Like 10, 15 is probably the biggest crowd I've ever had.
Gotcha. I mean, that's a decent sized crowd to be in front of.
Yeah. That's true, especially starting out with 4. It's funny. I had these, when I first was thinking of it, I was thinking that we were going to have 50 people there, and that is not how it went.
Wow. So aside from chopping it up with your sphere of influence, hosting, different types of seminars and webinars, what are some other marketing or other ways you're looking to gain clients?
Right. So I'm very focused on just a referral based business, because that's something that like really resonates with me. So One thing I've done this past year was reach out to agents in military locations and try to, say, hey, I looked at where people were coming from and going here, and reaching out to those agents and building relationships in those locations. And then also I did start a referral team in different locations. And then what we do is we get on a call, once a month. It's not always consistently once a month, but talk about things that we can improve on prospecting for military members, because that is our niche, which has helped.
Okay, cool. What are your goals for 2022?
2022, I would like to do 15 million at the end of this year, and do more than 45 transactions.
Got it. Have you closed any yet? I know it's early in the year. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. How often do you touch base with your past clients?
With my past clients, the first year I didn't at all, right? Like, I mean, some of them were my friends, right? So I had those natural, interactions in times of hanging out. But now, like I said, I became more intentional. I'm trying to touch base with, if the person sent me a referral, I'm talking to them monthly, right? Like, I'm either, writing them a personal letter, popping by with a gift, doing something nice for them, where I'm talking to them to encourage them to give me more referrals. But on a normal basis, I'm at least talking to people 4 or 5 times a quarter.
Got you. And how is that? Phone calls, emails, text messages, cards? Like, how do you communicate with them?
Yeah, so phone calls, text messages. I'm not really big on the whole email thing. I know it does, work as far as open rates, but I'm more personal. So letters, I don't really mail them out. I just drive them over to their house and drop them off. But so I'm staying in touch with them through, like, just being personal, right? So text messages, phone calls, and stopping by.
Got you. So how often do you, like, compare notes with your mom? How long has she been an agent?
She's been an agent since I was a kid. So I don't even know. She probably kill me if I told you the exact years. But yeah, she's been an agent for a very long time.
Okay, cool. Are there any things that you've implemented that she showed you, and are there anything that you showed her that she started implementing in her business?
Yeah, she's the one that got me, more organized, and saying that, she was the one that really forced CRM and database on me. She's like, you don't have a business unless you have a database, like that. And so, the first year I was like, yeah, I hear you. But after really thinking about it, so yeah, we bounce ideas off of each other all the time. Every time I speak to her, I'm always thinking of things, or she's telling me things that she does, whether she works with investors a lot and stuff like that now these days, which is something that I'm not really doing too much, but we still definitely talk about things that we can do, that she's done or that I've done, or I just give her an idea and say, hey, do you think this would work? And, she gives me pointers almost.
Got you. What does your team look like?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I did actually start like a legit real estate team with 3 agents on it. But before that, I had, just being a solo agent, I was pretty much me and an admin. I can't really say that she's much of an admin per se, like a traditional way, because it's my fiance. So so that was kind of like me, her, and I paired up with vendors and I stayed consistent with them. So I would call them a part of my team. So I have a home inspector, not a big company. He's a one-man show. I have, the same lender I pretty much use for all transactions. Of course, if people know people or come pre-qualified, then that, can't really control that. I have, a title company that I stay loyal to. So I will attribute those parts are a part of my team as well.
Got you. So you have an admin person. What's your next hire as you grow?
Right. So I did bring on, 3 agents. That way, because I am trying to step away from the buying side of things slowly but surely. And right now, I think that's where I'm comfortable at. Like it's different. It's very different from the things that I've been doing before, just because, again, everybody's so different and there's no one way to do this business. So I'm trying to learn of different avenues to teach them how to do business and where it comes from a genuine place for them. So that's pretty tough. That's what I'm trying to grow right now.
Got you. So if you had the opportunity to strictly do one or the other, is it more so, would you rather be a listing agent, or would you be a buyer's agent, or would you mix the two?
If I could choose and production was the same, I would be a listed agent in a heartbeat. Mainly because the job is a little bit different, right? Like working with a buyer can be a lot, right? You're driving constantly, and if you have multiple buyers, you feel like you're driving all day showing houses. They might not like those. The market kind of shifted on us. You might not even get the offer accepted. So there's a lot of work that goes into it, which I would, as listing, I do say that there's still a lot of work that goes into it, but it is a little bit more remote and a little bit more guaranteed. You're more in control.
Out of your first year, out of your 23 transactions, were any of them listings?
Yes. So and that's why I'm trying to transition now. I only had 2 listings.
Okay. And what about last year out of the 33?
So I did more than doubled up, but I got 8. So
okay.
The production far as listings is not there. But if I look at my client base, it's mainly because there are a lot of first-time home buyers and a lot of my sphere friends, and so I don't really have people that have been living in homes for very long to sell.
Right. Cool. Well, man, this has been insightful. I've gotten a lot of great information. For anyone who wanted to reach out to you in terms of if they're listening, they're in the Virginia area and they want to purchase, how can they reach you? Or if it's a new realtor or a realtor who's looking to gain some success, how can they reach out to you and talk to you? Yeah,
you could follow my Instagram. It's Merchant Key Realty. So MERCHANT KEYREALTY. And then honestly, if you really wanted to and you really want to get in touch with me, you could text or call me at 757-300-8364.
Cool, man. Elijah, this was awesome, man. I look forward to seeing your growth and, doing the part 2 of this. This is the Real Estate Proverbs Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Jefferson. Have a great day.
Thank you for watching the Real Estate Proverbs Podcast with Kevin Jefferson. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel so you can be notified when the latest video drops.